J-Dub is back at it, here to give everyone my final Dexter Season 1 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching Dexter, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description for you. If that happens to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation, especially for this episode, that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any and all potential spoilers. This will be Dexter Season 1, Episode 12, the Season 1 finale. The title of this episode is called Born Free. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. So Dexter's narration starts off by saying that Rudy has turned on the light when Dexter has lived in darkness his whole life. And then Dexter's trying to find a clue to where Rudy has taken Deb. Dulks and LaGuerta also go to Dexter's to try and figure out where the hell Deb is. Captain Matthews introduces the new lieutenant, Esme Pascal. And then Dexter decides to go to the shipping yard where his mother was brutally murdered, but only finds a bunch of bananas in the shipping container. And then out of nowhere, Doak shows up and says his famous meme line, "Surprise, motherfucker!" And then him and Dexter start to fight. And Dexter actually does pretty well against Dokes. And Doak says, "Lab geek my ass." Somebody intervenes and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they kind of play it off like, "Oh, we're good." So Dexter goes to Rudy's as they now have a warrant to search his place. And Paul's sponsor goes to visit Rita and says Paul had a fracture, but says that when Rita had hit Paul with the bat, Paul didn't have a fracture, but then when he went to jail because he got all doped up because of Dexter, he had a fracture then. So just some things that were mentioned to Rita. And then Dokes finds out that Rudy isn't even his real name. And Rudy gives Deb what I think was M99, the thing that Dexter uses to knock people out. Batista suggests they run Rudy's prints against the mental psych institution records, as maybe those would show up there because they're separate from the regular criminal records. And then Dexter goes to Laura Moser's address, his mother's address, because there was a clue where the song at Rudy's was Born Free, the episode title. And then Dexter starts to remember moments from his childhood home. He had a brother, Bryony, because he couldn't pronounce Brian. And Dexter's mom also has her nails painted like the amputee prostitute did, and Dexter was young enough so he could block out the terrible memories of his mom's murder, and we find out that his brother is Rudy, who goes by Rudy now but is known as Brian Moser. He was the older brother. He remembered everything. Dexter pushed all those memories out. So Brian gives Dexter a jab of the M99. Batista figures out Rudy is Brian Moser, says he was institutionalized until age 21. Brian was never put up for adoption as he was kind of just lost because of the whole murder situation. And Brian takes Dexter to Deb, who Brian has wrapped in plastic on a table outside in, I think, a shed. Brian wants to kill her together with Dexter, and Dexter calls Brian a killer without reason or regret. And then Brian tries to stab Deb, and Dexter stops him. And police show up, and Brian runs away. Dexter is questioned to why he was there. Dokes is going to request him for a suspension and a psych evaluation, essentially. And Deb says, "Back the fuck off. He saved my life. He's a hero." Deb says she'll stay with Dexter instead of a hospital. And then Paul calls Rita and wants her to look for a shoe. Brian breaks into Dexter's while he's asleep. Brian stabs what he thinks is Deb, but it is just a prosthetic parts that Dexter had got while he was at the hospital. And now we see Brian on Dexter's table. Brian's like, are you gonna, or Rudy, Brian, whatever you want to call him, he says, are you gonna cut my cheek and put it in your blood slide collection? Not those specific words, but Dexter says that Brian isn't a trophy and he needs to put down, but he needs to be put down. So Dexter does slit Brian's throat and starts to cry when he turns the table upside down to drain the blood to make it look like a suicide. Masuka and LaGuerta agree that this was a suicide. And now Dokes is following Dexter. Rita ends up finding Paul's shoe, and the episode has, the ending is Dexter imagines everybody celebrating what he does, and it ends with Dexter saying they see me in their darkest dreams. And that is the end of the episode and the end of season 1 of Dexter. I must admit, I really like season 1 now. Now, before, it wasn't really a highlight season in my opinion. I don't know why I didn't think that. I guess just because it's the first season and not, a current, a more newer season. Maybe I kind of forget about it. But this season was awesome. After like the first 3 episodes, this was a pretty awesome season of Dexter as a whole. So as far as this episode goes, I'm going to score it a 10 out of 10. This was a near perfect episode, so I'm going to score it a 10. Pretty awesome stuff. We had a reveal. We had a death of Rudy/Brian Moser. And now we have Dokes following and tailing Dexter. We had the crazy meme line of surprise motherfucker and the great quote of lab geek my ass. So all in all, I'm giving it a 10. Now the spotlight characters of the episode, there's a few of them. I can't give a tie, but I'm going to end this one. I think Brian Moser did a hell of a job, but he's been a constant character for like the last 3 or 4 episodes. I'm going to give it to Dokes, simply because he's the one that followed Dexter to the shipping containers. And he was tailing Dexter because he knows that something is just off about Dexter as a whole. So you've heard what I have to say. Now, of course, it is your turn. If you're a fan of Dexter, I always enjoy talking about Dexter. If you're a fan of Dexter New Blood, or you are a fan of JDev TV and want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, make sure you smash that like button. If you know anybody that would be interested in any type of Dexter stuff, make sure you share videos with them and share it on your social media platforms if that's what you want to do. Sound off in the comment section. Like I said, I love interacting with people regarding the show Dexter. I will respond to any and all comments eventually. So let me know what you thought of the episode. What would you score it? Who would be your standout characters of the episode? Dokes specifically for me. And last but certainly not least, I'm always trying to grow the channel. I need help to do so. So if you're not subscribed already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps me out, and I would greatly appreciate that. Join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.